Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're diving into a fascinating, literally paradigm-shifting look at what it actually means to pray. If you've ever felt like your spiritual life was, kind of disconnected from your daily grind, or if you're just really curious about the profound mechanics of human spirituality, well, you are absolutely in the right place. We're drawing on some incredible insights today from a piece titled Prayer of the Whole Person. It's authored by Friar John Baptist, who brings this truly unique perspective as a pastoral clinical counselor. We're going to bridge the gap between ancient spiritual wisdom and modern neuroscience to figure out what's actually happening inside us when we seek the divine. Let's get right into it. Okay, let's dive into this by asking a seemingly simple question. Is prayer just words? For a lot of us, if we're being totally honest, our default answer is probably yes. We tend to think of prayer as something we do mostly with our voices, right? Or maybe our inner monologue. We speak up to God, we recite those familiar phrases we've known since we were kids, or maybe we just sit passively in silence waiting for, well, something to happen. But is that really all the whole shebang entails? Today, we're going to completely challenge that misconception.
Section 1. More than just words. An active engagement.
We so often wrongly reduce this massive, profound human experience to just a simple exercise of the lips. Let's break down the difference here between the myth and the reality. The myth is that prayer is just this passive activity, like simply running through a mental checklist of familiar phrases before bed or before you eat a meal. But the reality? The reality is highly active. It gathers the entire human person. When you truly engage in prayer, you are pulling together your mind, your physical body, your raw emotions, your sharpest attention, and your deepest desires. And you're bringing all of that into the presence of God. It is literally a full-body, fully human engagement.
Section 2. Your brain on prayer. The neuroscience.
To really wrap our heads around how fully engaging this is, we've got to look at the empirical evidence. The year was 2003. That's when the scientific community gave us an absolutely incredible window into the praying mind. Neuroscientist Andrew Newberg conducted a fascinating study, and he chose a very specific, kind of unexpected group of subjects to put inside his high-tech brain scanners, experienced Franciscan nuns. And what Dr. Newberg's brain imaging revealed was just amazing. He observed these Franciscan nuns while they engaged in contemplative prayer, specifically through the inward repetition of a sacred phrase. And when researchers looked at the brain scans, wow, they saw actual physical changes in cerebral blood flow. The areas of the brain involved in highly focused attention were lit up and fully engaged. Same goes for the language centers of the brain. Now sure, this was a small preliminary study, and obviously it doesn't capture the entire mystical experience of every single prayer, but it gives us hard, undeniable empirical insight into our actual physiology. So, the absolutely crucial point here is that science proves prayer is not merely passive. No way. Your brain doesn't just shut off. Rather, it actively participates. Your mind is concentrating, it's actively remembering sacred words, and it's deliberately directing your attention toward God. It requires real energy, laser focus, and heavy neurological participation.
Section 3. Preparing the whole person. A whole way of living. So, while modern neuroscience gave us those brain scans in 2003, centuries-old spiritual traditions actually intuitively understood this deep mind-body connection way before then. Centuries before we had functional MRI machines, a spiritual teacher named John Cassian taught this exact principle, based purely on spiritual experience. Drawing on the ancient wisdom of the Desert Fathers, Cassian gave us this profound quote: "Our whole way of living prepares us to pray." Think about that. Cassian completely understood that prayer couldn't just be isolated to a quick 5-minute religious exercise in the morning. It's fundamentally connected to every single other hour of your day.
Let's look at how this builds across our daily lives. Cassian taught that literally everything we do leading up to the moment of prayer eventually enters right into the prayer itself. Step 1. Consider what fills your mind throughout the day. The media you consume, the thoughts you dwell on. Step 2. Look at what shapes your habits, like how are you spending your time? How do you treat the people around you? And step 3, examine what moves your heart. What are you truly passionate about? What makes you angry or joyful? All of these things, your thoughts, your daily habits, your deepest emotions, they don't just magically vanish the second you fold your hands. They are the very materials you bring with you into the presence of the divine.
Section 4. Offering our full humanity, our true selves. Knowing that our daily life comes right along with us into our spiritual life, well, it changes our entire perspective, doesn't it? We really need to reframe the whole purpose of prayer. For so many of us, we treat spirituality as an escape. We think prayer is all about running away from our messy, complicated humanity to find some pristine, silent mountaintop in our minds. But the source material corrects this. Beautiful, sure, but ultimately flawed notion. The true purpose of prayer is an offering. It's about bringing our whole, unfiltered human experience directly to God. It is absolutely not an escape from reality. It's a profound confrontation with it, placing our genuine human condition directly in the light.
I mean, really think about what actually makes up your day. We bring all of it. We bring our totally distracted thoughts. We bring our incredibly tired, worn-out bodies. We bring our deep-seated fears and anxieties, right alongside our gratitude, our profound longings, and our love. When you sit down to pray and you suddenly find your mind wandering to the stresses of your job, or you realize just how physically exhausted you are, those aren't failures of concentration, not at all. They are the reality of your humanity, and they are exactly what you are meant to bring forward and offer up. They're literally the raw material of your contemplation.
Section 5. Becoming totally prayer. The ultimate goal. When we finally stop fighting our humanity and start offering it, we transition from just speaking words to becoming totally prayer. And to really illustrate this, our source text points to an incredible historical observation. Thomas of Celano wrote these beautiful words about the great St. Francis of Assisi. He noted that Francis was not so much praying as becoming totally prayer. Just let that sink in for a second. For St. Francis, this practice had moved so far beyond just reciting specific words at specific times of the day. The act of offering his whole person had completely shaped the very core of who he was actually becoming.
And this brilliantly illustrates the deeper invitation for all of us. The goal is not just to say your prayers and check some religious box. The goal is to let prayer transform absolutely everything else. The invitation here is to let it transform how we think, how we speak to one another, how we approach our daily work, how we endure our inevitable suffering, how we love, and ultimately how we live. It's this beautiful integration of our highest spiritual aspirations with the grit of our everyday reality. And it happens little by little, day by day. Which leaves us with this final, profound question to consider today. What if your whole life became a prayer? What if every single email you sent, every meal you cooked, every challenge you faced at work, and every tired moment at the end of the day wasn't a distraction from your spiritual life, but the very substance of it? God invites the whole person, everything you are, right now. I really want you to take that thought with you as you step back out into your day, and just see how it might transform your everyday actions into a continuous living practice. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.